Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
It's the final show of 2023, James.
Well, shit, it is, I suppose, yeah.
The
But it's for
year
you
comes to an
anyway.
end. We've got a Patreon show, differential show as well today, but the final main pod of the year. And it's going to be a corker.
Yeah, I
It's
hope
going to be
so.
a
There's
corker.
plenty to talk about from a very interesting game week 19. How was your FPL game week, sir? And then you
FPL game
can
week
get
ended
on
on.
to all the happiness and you're the pride of North London and all that sort of shit. There's
Yeah,
only
yeah,
one
of
team in
course we
North
are.
London anyway, so you can't have that, mate.
I think Finsbury Park FC will probably argue, or Enfield Town Football Club will also want a piece of that. Um, 45 points, James. So that means another green arrow.
Nice.
Um, three in a row. And when I was 2 million at the game week 16, 2 million, 2.1 million. I'm now 1.1 million. So I've held my rank in 3 weeks. So I'm
Good.
happy enough with that. The biggest jump came in game week 17 and then chipped away a little bit ever since. Considering I didn't really have a bench or any kind of optimum team for going into this week. I didn't have a wild card to prepare for the blank game week that was before and so on. So I'm kind of stumbling through and seeing where I would get through. I made just the one transfer. I sold Nathaniel Cash for Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Good lad.
Again, I swapped a 0 pointer for an 8 pointer. So 2 weeks in a row, my transfers have been okay. It really was a choice of Shimikas or Cash. I could stomach another price drop on Shimikas because of the price I'd bought and sold, whereas Cash, every time he dropped, I was going to take a hit. So I thought he can go. They're both as screwed as each other, really, aren't they? So I let it go with Shimikas, and ended up Dubravka and Trippier. Talk about Newcastle defense in a minute because that's twice in a row, man. Like there's plenty of us. You in the same boat, right? Luton, Luton followed by Forest versus Man United followed by Arsenal. What's that points difference? Must be 15 points or something stupid like that. Ariel is the 10 pointer
You
this week.
can't be angry at yourself for benching Areola, mate.
He's my goalkeeper, though. He's my
Yeah, but
club.
you
I
can't be
have
angry
faith in the
about it, mate.
bastard. No,
Particularly,
not at all.
particularly this week as well, away
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Arsenal.
I
Come on,
agree.
man.
A two and a three versus 18. So what's that? 13 points. But Dubravka and Trippier didn't give me anything. Nothing from Gabriel. Couldn't care less. Um, Region, Diaby, and Salah, who are captains, nothing. But my
Region?
Richarlison. Why am I thinking Region? Eight
Fuck,
thirty in the morning, I open my
bloody
eyes to
hell. I
sleep.
mean, there's
No,
Bayern
no, no.
Manchester United players and there's
Richarlison. I was
Bayern
just looking at
Manchester
an
United
R in a
players.
white shirt. Maybe it's PTSD. Thomas Ochek, though, finally coming up with some points ever since I've owned him as my 4.9 kind of
You had
fodder.
to start him this week as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to.
That's brilliant.
Had to. So he chipped in with a 9 pointer. Other than that, Alvarez and Solanke with the goal each. The penalty, obviously, for Alvarez. Ollie Watkins, nothing. So it was just Trent, Souček, Alvarez, and Solanke kind of pulled me through to 45 points. And now Cole Palmer is fit again.
Yeah.
So I'll probably make one more transfer this week. I may now move Shimikas on for Porro. Because he looked lively again yesterday, and then I'm set, and then we keep going.
Yeah, I don't mind that. What I would say is don't expect any clean sheets from that
Nah,
in the
you're bare
next two.
bones at the back, to be honest with you, and they're in good shape at the moment,
But I
Bournemouth.
mean,
So
that is, and there's been a week of it, right? Trent, yellow card and two bonus. Or was it top bonus, wasn't it? I think top bonus in the Burnley Liverpool
yeah,
game.
top.
Malo Gusto, I was doing a stream watch along for the patrons Wednesday night, and someone said, "Oh, Gusto's on top bonus." Like I couldn't believe it with just the assist. Although he did play very well. I know a lot of Chelsea fans thought he was probably their best player the other night. And then Porro, the most astonishing of all last night, two bonus points despite conceding four goals and just getting the assist. Is pretty insane. So look, we've said it 100 times this season, right? There's not that many teams keeping clean sheets. One of our patrons said the other day, other than Arsenal, which really makes me want to laugh this morning. Because Liverpool have actually conceded, believe it or not, two less goals than Arsenal now this season.
Okay.
Um, that's not saying go mad for your Canates and stuff like that. But yeah, it's you get these offensive ones. I reflect on the two transfers I made, which was selling Shimikas for Trent, which I didn't quite have because I'd wildcard and left 3.3 in the bank in game week 17. So I was quite close to being able to do it, but just needed to make another move. And how pleased am I that I've gone Colwell to Gusto as the other one. And I started Gusto over Pedro Porro. Now you can do the hindsight and say, oh, you should have started Pedro Porro over Gabriel. But that wasn't an easy call to make. I was just looking at it though and going, okay, could Chelsea keep a clean sheet at home to Palace? Yes. Is there any chance for Tottenham clean sheet at Brighton? It feels like none, as proven correct. But he's nearly scored last night as well, Porro. So that easily could have been 11 points, unbelievably, despite conceding 4 goals last night. So yeah, it's get these offensive ones. You can. I mean, there's another one but there's two that are going to pop back up, be interest to people now as well, in terms of offensive fullback. So Estupiñán's obviously scored a worldie yesterday.
Yep, he
And
did.
he's highly likely to start on Tuesday because Igor Julio has been covering at left back. Has probably got a knock last night as well, which is why Estupiñán came on at half time. And Alex Moreno, he's probably going to play a while for Villa now as well because Luca Dean's he's unconfirmed how long, but Unai Emery said after the game the other night suspected hamstring. That's not normally a 3-day job. It's normally you're going to miss a little period of time. I mean, Romero was tight hamstring should be all right for Thursday is what all the ITKs were saying. Yeah, 4 to 5 weeks out. What did I say on Sunday, Suj, about Romero?
If he plays, you win. If he doesn't play, you lose.
I said it a bit more extreme than that. I
Well,
said
yeah.
I thought we'd win if he played, and I thought we'd probably get battered if he did.
Yeah, I don't think he was necessarily the reason you lost, though. I mean, that's a little bit
Oh no, 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 no.
too simplistic.
We definitely
It
could have
was
lost
across
anyway.
the whole
But
park.
I can't
Yeah.
explain to you how important it is that build up from the back.
Mm.
Non-existent without him. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you beat me by 9 points this week, which is decent, but it's like little bits. There wasn't any one player that particularly went crazy. It was like an assist for Son, Bowen, Gusto, and then their little bits of bonus that kind of chipping away. And it
yeah,
felt like that's the way of the game at the moment, is chip away.
yeah, and the chipping away has been going well for me since the wild card. It's 54 points for me this week. Gusto, Trent, and Alvarez with the 24 points of that really handy. Solanke's goal, Bowen's assist, Son's assist. So blanks from Captain Salah, Dubravka, Gabriel, uh, Watkins. Since I wildcarded Suj, I will tell you exactly. I've gone from 613k to I now sit at 209.
Nice. That's
So
good. There's a
I've had
ma
a good little spell there, yeah, which is nice after a wild card. The last wild card I used was the Liverpool 7-0 against Man United. I got obliterated, right, in one game week. So
mm,
nice to have a little jump from that.
Yep, indeed. Good. So let's talk about some of these games, shall we? Or do you want to talk about your plans for game week 20 first?
Yeah, just do a little bit on that. I mean, I've got a benching headache badly, and I can't bench boost because I've done it in game week 1. I know there are a few going to do it. Just be careful, is all I'd say, particularly around players who have got, say, 3-day turnarounds. So the Wednesday to the Saturdays. So the likes of, like, I feel like an example would be those who gambled on Kunku, it's fine. I think he probably played Wednesday night out of necessity because of Palmer and
Yep.
Sterling suspensions. I wouldn't be certain that he plays tomorrow. Even in Malo Gusto's case, with the tight turnaround, he played Sunday, Wednesday. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea went with the 4 big centre backs, as it's Luton away as well, and he used him later in the game. So just have a double. It's not to say don't do it, because for some people, I have seen some benches knocking about, and you do think, oh yeah, do it. Ironically, it's probably ones that haven't got Dubravka as well at the moment, because Dubravka away to Liverpool gives you a bit of a, okay, I don't expect anything out of that, so I need my outfield players to do really well. But those who've got maybe sort of like Areola Turner with the 2 home games, ironically, it just looks better. Even though they're challenging Brighton and Manchester United, it just looks a bit better. Just check yourself on the players you've got with the 3-day turnarounds, particularly. So the players who played last night going into Sunday and stuff like that as well. I think there's probably enough reason to say for the majority, don't do it. And what I would say is if you're unsure, don't do it. But if you've got conviction and you're happy to do it, be my guest because there's going to be some really good teams knocking about this week, which is kind of emphasized by my bench because this almost feels like it's bench boostable in terms of what I've got at the moment. So
What, Dubravka in goal?
Dubravka in goal, Solanke at Tottenham, which is ridiculous. Gabriel at Fulham also feels ridiculous. They haven't scored in the last three. And Gusto at Luton. That's my bench
So what's your
this week.
starting 11?
Ariola in goal.
Yeah. Trent.
Porro, Trent, Hal Torres of Villa, home to Burnley. Saka, Leon Bailey, home to Burnley. Salah, Bowen, Son, Alvarez, and Watkins.
I can see where your dilemma comes from. I
Now,
mean,
I don't want to bench Solanke because I'll tell everybody right now. I think, and it's not like an overreaction to last night. I think there's every chance Bournemouth will win at Tottenham on Sunday. They've had 2 days extra rest, and look at us defensively, and they've won.
Yeah, and look at them attacking.
Exactly, they're the form team in the league basically.
Yeah,
and
I can see where you come from.
they're getting players back fit like Alex Scott. So I'm certainly looking at that going, I don't want to bench Solanke, but it's the only one I bench where I can't bench Porro. I don't think, even though I think we might get beat, I can't bench him in a home game. It's absurd.
Yeah, agreed.
So I mean, on the face of it, like playing Solanke and benching Leon Bailey will be safer in terms of the less damage it can do me. But then I feel like happy that I went Gusto over Porro this week. And it's paid off. In the end, it's only a small difference, but that's paid off and was kind of a brave call. This feels like I should be the same. And I mean, part of having Bailey still come in the wild card was definitely that he played against Sheffield United and played against Burnley. So I don't see which of the rest I could leave out. Saka at Fulham?
No. They're running that poor boy into the ground at the moment, but
I'm half tempted to say Sonny, you know. And I know there's people going to captain him this week.
Yeah, it's mad. I'm lined up with
but then I think if I'm going to leave Sonny out and he's pissing off next week, I might as well just go and buy Phil Foden now.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that it's subject to the team news today. With the team I've got, I don't know how I can justify making a transfer when I need to get rid of Salah and Son next week. And I'll have the 2-3s to do it. And that might need to be a part of getting Erling Haaland back, which I'm not desperate to do for Newcastle away. But I'll be conscious that with people having the excess value, if he's available, people are just going to go there straight away because they'd have the excess value of Salah and or Son. But he's not going to be available this week if we trust what Pep said, because Pep said hopefully back in January, and it's still December tomorrow. We should add to that though, by the way. He didn't say which January.
You don't think he's out for a year?
I certainly don't think he'll play tomorrow. And captaincy this week's really interesting. There's so many potential options.
Who have you busted on Alvarez?
I mean, at Salah. Just because I think Newcastle were not in the right headspace. They've actually got the second worst away record in the league.
It's horrible. They won one game, haven't they, away?
Yeah, 8-0 at Sheffield United. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think Salah for me, I think because that game's like not till Monday as well, probably sensible to have a vice captain on Saturday. So probably Watkins is a little bit safer vice captain, but Alvarez, Foden, Son, Richarlison, Salah, Watkins, Arsenal players, loads, but even Bowen against Brighton, right?
Yeah,
loads of options for captaincy this week. And I do think it's worth considering captaincy in game week 21 just before people decide what they want to do this week, because it goes from having a shit ton of options this week to looking at game week 21 and going, I'm not sure. And I might even discussed it on COTC yesterday. I might even captain Bowen at Sheffield United in game week 21.
Yeah, I don't dislike that. Obviously, I'd rather we've lost Paqueta now, so if he was fit, that would make that choice a little bit easier. But we'll know more in the coming days about that. I may even roll this week, James. I'm lined up with Ariola in goal. My back three: Trippier, Trent, and Gabriel. I'm not particularly big fan of them playing against each other, but they're attacking fullbacks, so it's fine. My midfield is Richarlison, Palmer, Salah, and Diaby, who obviously he didn't start this week. Up top, I've kept Watkins, Solanke, and Alvarez. My bench is Dubravka, Souček, And then I've got Shimikas and Lascelles sitting there. So if I was happy to go with no defensive cover, i.e., if Gabriel, Trent, and Trippier all play, which I think they will, then I could roll and just have Souček as cover. The advantage of that is it gives me two going into next week when I can get rid of Salah, get Haaland back. So that fixes that problem. And if I really wanted to take a hit on a -4 for something else, I can and have like a mini wild card then.
You haven't got Son, have you?
No,
No. Okay.
no,
Yeah.
no. So my AFCON problems are literally Salah as it stands at the moment.
If you get a Shimicast replacement in, who was you saying most likely? Pedro
I
Porro.
well, I'd like to go Porro, but also I need some money. So because I'm not as flush as you are in terms of team value. I'm only at 102 million, which is not great. So I could go down to Malo Gusto, for example, and just
Hmm.
keep it cheap. But then I've got Gusto, Lascelles, Palmer, Souček. It's a bit meh.
I don't think. I mean, with Diaby, I think you probably need to roll the dice and play that tomorrow. But I wouldn't be certain he starts.
Yeah, I'm not, and that's why I'm tempted to go Souček over Diaby. I mean, it's still a home fixture for us. Set piece threat, maybe.
Yeah, they're vulnerable
Guaranteed
there.
90 minutes versus 30 minutes of Diaby. I'm really not certain that I'll be playing Diaby over Souček, if I'm honest with you, mate.
I take it if you went for Porro, you'd bench Trips, would you?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always risky.
Or play him and bench Diaby and Souček. Bench the both of them, the pair of them.
I think if you've got Diaby, just roll the dice with it because if he's in the team, there's a potential return. But that's a problem. I think. While
Mm.
while Bailey's fit, that needs dealing with. But there's 2 weeks after this week to what Gameweek 21. There's no guarantee Leon Bailey will still be fit by then. There's no guarantee he'll still be fit by Saturday. And to go back to the bench boost point, like if you're carrying players like that who you know are just prone to potentially rocking up on a Saturday and oh yeah, there's a problem, that's also needs to be an awareness before you activate the bench boost. It's definitely going to be a few bench boosts this weekend.
Yeah, agreed. Kind of wish I had a wild card up my pocket at the moment. To be honest with you, there's a few fires I want to fill
And
up
for anyone
fires.
obviously who hasn't used their first wild card, please use it
Use
this week.
that.
Even if you just
Use
make
it.
2 transfers, use the bloody wild card because it's use it or lose it.
Yep. Cool, cool. Let's talk about some of these games and James. Nuno Espirito Santos.
With the most defensive performance he's put in probably in Premier League history. No, not quite. I watched the first half hour of this at the father-in-law's after the failed attempts to do the deadline stream, which I wanted to smash the father-in-law's house up, mate. The internet blew out. Like, as literally I was about to hit live. Couldn't believe it. I watched the first half hour there and we disappeared to my mum and dad's. I literally, basically, till Isat scored the penalty. And I went, well, Newcastle will stroll to it from here. Checked in the car like half hour later and Forest winning 3-1 up. Literally jaw dropped. Couldn't believe it. And Chris Wood hat trick. I take it you started him this week, Suj.
Of course. Of course. In my fantasy version of fantasy football.
Do you want to do any Wood jokes or
Nah,
are we above that, are we?
we're above that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Brilliantly taken hat trick. The first one obviously can't miss, but his two finishes for the second and third
Yeah.
were absolutely great. And you would assume that he'll stay in the team for the foreseeable because of that. They picked a more offensive lineup.
Oh, and he's
With
not fit yet, is he?
no, but I do know
So what else are they going to do? Like false nine with Gibbs White or
the original expectation on Awoniyi that he was going to be back around about game week 26. That's been revised actually, with hopes that it'll be back in mid-January.
right?
So that might last literally one more game with Chris Wood. So I wouldn't be
But not if
diving
he's
in now.
scoring. Like if you've got a striker and he's in form and he's scoring, it's stupid to take him out of the team, I think.
Well, it means they could ease Awoniyi back in, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So his actual returns per minutes this year, Chris Wood, it's pretty good. He'd had a very, very difficult 2023 in kind of the opening part. I don't think he impressed when he went there. He was obviously struggling for minutes at Newcastle before that as well. If you deliver for him, he will score goals. We've always thought that.
Yep.
He was, even at Burnley, he was regularly someone we could look at as an asset in FPL. I don't think that's an option at the moment. That's probably not even the enabler I'd go to. I don't think, because I do think if Awoniyi is going to be back for even game week 21, and they can ease it in, it's still United, Brentford, Arsenal's the next three. It doesn't fill with joy.
No.
And I think Forest are probably a watch and wait. Back four again, essentially changed the fullbacks this time, Montiel and Aina. And I wouldn't be surprised if Montiel kind of suddenly reappears quite regularly. It seems like he was a little bit out of favour. And I think Nuno went with the players who were kind of ready. He didn't have a lot of time to prepare last week.
Yep.
He's probably had a few more days to assess the squad, and it might be that he jumps in ahead with favouritism. Sangari is suspended for the Manchester United game this weekend, which is a bit of a blow.
Is Mangala injured now?
No, it's fine. I think, as far as I'm aware.
You'd expect him to maybe come back
Yes.
in.
I mean, the team they picked with Danilo, Elanga, Gibbs White, Hudson Odoi, and Wood all in the team. It's pretty offensive.
Offensive. Yeah. I would say so.
But it's laughable on the Wood's 2 second goals, the second and third goals. You can't see another Forest player in a shot. It's like no one even goes and supports it. Just go on in, mate. Get on with it. I had a few tweets of I could hear the Messi music when Uncle Messi, Uncle Messi.
I saw that.
For Chris Wood. Piss off, man. Honestly.
Yeah. It's a bit. I did see a few of those. I thought that was a little bit OTT.
Over the top, yeah.
Still.
For Newcastle, look, the worst bit's over now in terms of the schedule. So, in terms of the spacing, because actually the schedule gets worse. So it's Liverpool away is obviously Monday night. So the 6-day turnaround, that's handy because they've literally been just pumping on 3-4 days for all of December, basically. Massive game at Sunderland in the FA Cup third round as well. So that's not, just rest the players in the FA Cup. Newcastle fans are not going to accept that. He'll play a full team near enough at Sunderland, I'm pretty sure.
Yep,
but again, you've got 5 days from Monday to Saturday. Then it's City at home. Then a bigger gap, Villa away. So that's Newcastle's January. Liverpool, Sunderland, the North East Derby, Manchester City, and Aston Villa. I was having a little chat with Si, our Newcastle correspondent, a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying basically what I'd said a few weeks ago. I'll come back and look at Newcastle in Gameweek 23 against Luton. That doesn't mean you have to sell your Trippiers or anything else you've got, not at all. But I certainly wouldn't be looking at them for the next few weeks. Trippier might become expendable, but I guess a lot of people with him are going to land with money in the bank. They're going to cut Trippier as well, who is an offensive threat in any game. He's not played well this month, but I think now the spacing's okay. He'll be fine for minutes. Lascelles, he's not going to play much now because Cher's fit, Botman's fit.
Well, he himself is not fit, so
he himself is not fit. The early suggestion is
more than
the early suggestion is he probably won't make the Liverpool game, but I don't think he'd start in any case. And similarly, Livramento owners are going to need to have a look as well at what they do, because I think the first choice back four will be Trippier, Cher, Botman, Burn. It's back in place. Be interesting to see now what will happen with Isak, Wilson, because actually, ironically, the run's ended. And actually, it doesn't feel like there's that many injuries now. The majority are back. But what I would also say, and I warned about this when it happened, that Nick Pope injury is massively destabilizing for them. And they need to just try and get through January and then hit the ground running in February. They've obviously got no European competition to worry about or anything like that. They'll have a go at the FA Cup, no doubts. But yeah, they're a complete void for a while, I think. And yeah, there's every consideration to even be selling trips.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it's not out of my thoughts at the moment to move him on, just because the budget's there, right? I mean, when I move Salah on, no, I know, but when I move Salah on, remember I've got less team value. So when I move Salah on to get Haaland back, if I wanted to go Diaby to Foden, for example, I need to find a little bit of money, or even from let's say Richarlison back to Bowen, or to get to any of these 7 millions from these 6 millions.
You not got Jared Bowen?
No, I sold him
drugs. No way.
Yeah, I sold him a few weeks ago.
Why did you do that?
I sold him when he got injured.
When did
when he had the fluid on the knee?
Oh yeah, the fluid on the knee. Did he miss any games?
Yeah, he did. He missed one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Regrets. I've had a few.
Yeah, I mean he blanked obviously. Oh, he picks up the assist only. Sorry, this week, but he's been chipping away nicely. I do want to get back to Jared Bowen, but when we had Man United and Arsenal, it just never felt like it was a priority really to get back to him.
I can't believe
Um,
you've been without him since what game week 13 is the game week you missed. You've been without him all that time.
quite a while, yeah.
I mean, he's not gone mad over that
No, he
period.
hasn't gone mad, but he has been scoring points, mate. Trips. I think it's one of them where it's like, okay, well, if he's not going to get me any returns, look, do you know how many points he's scored in the last 5 weeks combined, James?
Trips, the one or two.
3.
Bloody hell.
So at that point, 6.8 million, and I've just added Trent to my squad, who's obviously the most pricey defender in the game. Going down to Porro and just freeing up that 1.2 million could be quite
But that's not
useful.
your biggest problem, is it? Because Shimikas and Lascelles sitting there and Diarra.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I could just leave them be. I don't
But,
need
but the
15 players.
point
I need
being, right,
11.
there's 3 bad fixtures for Newcastle. And it feel like a long time, right? After this, it's going to feel ugly, right? Between game week 20 and game week 22 is basically a month. There's only one game week in the middle because of the winter break and the FA Cup fixtures on either side of that game week and the League Cup semis as well. But you've basically got 3 problems in your squad, really. Like Diaby's not a long-term hold for you.
Hmm.
Shimikas is injured, Lascelles is injured, Salah's going to be your 4th problem, right? Because he's going to AFCON. So there's 4 players there you're going to want to move on, right? Newcastle have 3 bad fixtures.
Mm,
Then it comes back around, okay, handy. So I think in your circumstance, you probably keep him
yeah.
and just roll with it.
Let's talk about Bournemouth 3, Fulham nil. We talk about Fulham haven't scored in 3 games. What's the latest on Raul Jimenez? Will he be
Back
ready for Spurs?
back from ready for Spurs.
Isn't Oh, sorry, what am I talking about? Bournemouth. I'm half asleep this morning, mate. Will he be ready for who are they playing next
Arsenal.
week? Remind me. Oh, yeah.
Yes, thankfully. It is ironic. Um, that's the denominator, isn't it? Between those
But
great results
is
and
there a
the recent
correlation
ones.
though?
Well, I think Willian as well, to be fair, and also Tim Ream from a leadership perspective has been missing the last few, but I think he missed a couple when they was having those big victories as well. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Jimenez will come back in the team at the weekend. Tim Ream's not far away, by the way. He could be back for the Chelsea game in game week 21 seems to be the thinking at the moment. Yeah, but having Willian, I don't know what the situation is with Williams' reported hamstring, but I don't know if
Mm,
it's because of his age, rest him stuff, or if he's going to be close or not. I know he had a failed period at Arsenal, but I think he's been pretty good for Fulham, and I think they've
yes.
missed him. I think they've missed him
Yeah.
the last few games. He draws people to him, you know that. Even if he doesn't do anything in the game, he's not the sort of player you want to leave yourself one on one because even at his age, he can take you on. He can go either way, and obviously his delivery is really good.
Mm,
So he draws people to him that allows space for others. He's just not as much of a threat in the sense of moved Iwobi that side. And Iwobi's been playing all right for them as well, but Iwobi was doing better off the right. So you've almost lost both sides now.
yeah.
So if they can get that fixed where it's back to like Willian, Jimenez, and Iwobi back to the right, will be better for them. But they've ended up getting well beat here. What did you make of the Leno incident?
We were talking about it last night when I was in the pub with a few of my mates. Ball boys,
Our cheeky
you
little shits.
yeah,
Let's be honest.
yeah, basically. But then, like I was
And they
talking,
can get away with it.
there was a night though when we played Sevilla, in the Europa League. Like they were amazing, the ball boys. Like they gave the ball to West Ham in seconds. When Sevilla had throw-ins and corners, they just sat on their ass and didn't even get off and then go and pick the fucking ball up yourself. And as a fan, then I was like, do what you got to do because we need to win this game. And they were excellent that night at being little shits, as you just call them. So they'd piss me off if I was in a away team. So yeah, I don't know. Is it just part of
It
being
was
the
a really
away
dumb thing
team?
to do though.
Yeah, you don't as a player, don't push a ball boy, don't raise your hand, don't do anything
Well,
like that.
just
Of
don't put
course, he
your hand on a
shouldn't do
child.
it. He shouldn't
Simple
do it.
as.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. He shouldn't do it. Do you think though it's just part of being the away team that you got to put up with that kind of thing where
Uh,
sometimes you get a towel and they dry the ball and all that kind of stuff? Or do you think it should be a case of there should be a standard that they all need to
well, I think
behave
the,
to,
the
which is
adding of the
be
adding of
quick and
more
get the ball
balls
to
around
them?
the pitch
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a circumstance at Bournemouth because it's obviously the stands are a little bit tighter and stuff. But the more balls around the side of the pitch should eliminate a lot of the stuff that ball boys have to do anyway,
Well,
right?
they'll just sit there on the cone, and it's whether or not the ball boy gets off his arse and throws the ball to the player, or
Yeah, but
just
if a
sits.
player's going to the ball on the cone, then the ball boy doesn't need to get up, right? I think it's part of playing away from home, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like should
I
it
think
be
it's part of
fair
being
or
away from.
whatever? No, not necessarily. But I think it's also up to on the day, like a referee to pull out and go, hang on, there's two teams here, and I've got to treat them fairly, and they're not being treated fairly,
Yeah,
by people who are meant to be assisting the game, if you will. But yeah, no, if you're a ball boy, right? Here's me. If I'm sitting there as a ball boy, and let's say there's an away team player and he's coming towards me and he wants to take a quick throw in, I'm probably going to slip the ball the other way or something, right?
yeah,
What's the worst? What am I going to do? Get booked?
yeah,
Like, what's the worst that's going to
yeah,
happen?
yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
get told I've got to move. Well, I'll help my team if I can. So
yeah.
I think you're always going to get a little bit of
I
that
put it in the
away
same
from home.
bracket of all this, like holding your head when you go down, like just all these dark arts of slowing the game down that the likes of the Brentfords of the world are particularly good at. It just fits into that same category, and you got to manage it. Yeah, at the end of the day, you got to manage it, and you got to know what you're going into and have a game plan and a strategy for it. So, um, don't raise your hands on anybody. I think is a given, and I do just think it's part of the game a little bit.
Yeah. Move on to Bournemouth. Cut the notes. Obviously, Dango Tara at left back again.
Mm.
Um, that's probably not going to be a problem at, at Tottenham at the weekend if that's what it comes to. I suspect Max Aarons is back fit as well, so he might even play on the right, and Adam Smith can play on the left hand. So I'm sure Aarons
Do you
could
think
cover
it's
on the
not going to
left
be a
hand side
problem
as
because
well.
Brennan Johnson's a bit pony?
You said that, not me.
Ah, okay, I was
But
just
I'll happily rip the shreds out of him on a Patreon pod later today.
okay.
Yeah, he's not my favourite person at the moment, Brendan Johnson, at all.
I
Um,
heard. I know. We won't get distracted, but I'm going to chuck it in now because I don't think we will anywhere else. I heard on a radio phone in someone said, was it part of the transfer agreement that he need to leave his bollocks in Nottingham Forest because that guy pulls out of
so
tackles.
timid. He's
He
so
pulls out
timid.
of tackles like nobody's business. But yes. Anyway, Adam Smith may go to the left.
Yeah, that's something that they could do, which would probably been
Mm.
more suitable if sort of Kulusevski play out that side again. You got that natural right footer from left back coming in with a left footer who wants to come infield all the time. Kulusevski, of course, is suspended. Oh, another Tottenham absentee for that game on Sunday at White Hart Lane. Solanke's the main talking point here, isn't he? And I think we should note the following: Tottenham away, it is away. Liverpool at home, West Ham away. He's not a good three fixtures at all. Then Forest at home, then Fulham away, Newcastle away, and Manchester City at home. I don't want to bench him this week. I feel like I've got to. I also think for other people, it might be a really, really solid play to sell him. I think that's expendable looking at those fixtures. You look at it and go, he's done great for me. He's consistent. What is he? I think he's got the most goals in the league now that's non-penalty. I called him Watkins Light a couple of weeks ago, and that feels appropriate. I think he's
Mm.
just a little bit a level below, playing in a team who's not going to get quite as many goals as Aston Villa, doing great. And that's not to say that anybody should sell him. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think there's a case to say, well, he's had a great run here. The power play here is to move it on to someone else who might be coming into a good set of fixtures. And I know the one everyone's looking at right now is Alvarez, but that's only a short-term decision.
Yeah, and there's plenty that still own Alvarez though. Um,
Hi.
he's ready for me. Like, I need to make a decision of who goes for Haaland. Solanke may be the one.
I'm going to bench Dominic Solanke this week, I think, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't score at the weekend. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Just one other little note on them because it might be relevant for the Liverpool game, obviously, because they've played a game short. They can still have players suspended. And Marcus Senesi's on 4 yellow cards. If he missed the Liverpool game, that would be a big blow. And obviously, you're
What do
playing
you
a
mean?
game
They played
like
the game short.
what?
You said
Yeah,
they
the
get
Luton
the
game didn't happen, right?
oh, so the
So
they played one less game. That's what you
the
mean.
yellow card amnesty for 5 yellow cards
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
19th game.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Sorry.
Bournemouth, Luton, Manchester City, Brentford have only played 18. So they've got one more game to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
through.
one
I
less
think from
game.
the four teams, he's basically going to be the only one that might kind of matter, basically. So Marcus Senesi, if he got booked this week, would miss the Liverpool game. They are on an incredible run. They'll be flying with confidence. They won at Tottenham last season as well. They'll come for us with 2 days extra rest.
Yeah.
And honestly, they may very well beat us at the weekend. So, by the way, for the majority of people, just play Solanke this weekend would be the real advice. I don't think there's much else to look at from them, despite
No.
the run, because of that fixtures does turn rough again. They've now got almost a repeat of what they had at the start of the season. It looks grim from a fixture perspective, but they're doing absolutely great. Are they 10th now, Such?
They are. Yes, they've crept
Brilliant.
up.
Brilliant.
I'm just
And
going to
to
double
think
confirm
if
that.
they'd have lost to Burnley,
No, James, they're 12th. They've
they're
dropped.
12th.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're close enough though, aren't they? Like points wise, they must nearly be there.
Yeah, it's all the points are the same from 10th
Yeah.
to them. Chelsea, Wolves, Bournemouth are all on the same points.
It's
Chelsea just have a
amazing to
better goal
think if they'd have
difference.
lost that game to Burnley, they might have well, we don't know, but there was a big suspicion that they'd have changed manager if they'd have lost that game. And look at them now, they'll be delighted. And the way they set up is probably not good for Tottenham on Sunday either.
No. Talking about league position, we had a bottom of the table clash, and Luton ended up coming up trumps 3-2 away at Sheffield United. Bit of a yo-yo game in the end, but Luton will be
Yeah,
super happy to come away and win it.
we watched most of this, particularly the second half, because obviously Bournemouth got clear against Fulham. I say we, I'm talking about me and my dad, obviously. Yeah, this was fun. And I mean, bizarre goals in the second half. Amir Hodzic's goal after, I don't know how Archer doesn't put it over the line himself from a bit of a mad scramble. And then the two own goals, bloody hell. Of his first team in Premier history, I think that's scored two own goals in the last 15 minutes and lose or something like that, I think.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay. I thought you were about to say
absolute.
scored two own goals. That's not true. There's plenty that have done
Oh
that.
no, no,
But
no.
to
This
score in
is
the last
it's
15, two own
you know,
goals and
Wout
lose.
Fast says hello. He's like, what about me? I did it all by myself last season. Um, yeah, massive win for Luton. I'm completely demoralising, I think, for Sheffield United being in front. Both teams, the thing is, because the way it is at the bottom, both teams would go into this thing, got to win. Got to win.
Oh, 100%.
Probably Luton would maybe go, okay, it's a away game point, but probably both thinking, got to win. And actually, the two teams have decent runs coming up. It won't feel like it for Sheffield United because they've got Manchester City away. But then afterwards, the run's not too bad. Games like Palace away and Luton away, the reverse fixture, because obviously all these fixtures that are played this weekend are repeated in game week 24. They'll feel like they can get points in. West Ham at home, Villa at home, Brighton at home are actually games where it's a different beast for you, isn't it? Going to Sheffield United than going to Arsenal with a weird
Yeah,
roundabouts
yeah,
way.
yeah. Because the possession will be completely the opposite.
So it's not a terrible run. And Luton's run is better. Similarly, Chelsea, Brighton at home, the return against Sheffield United, Manchester United, 4 of the next 6 are at Kenilworth Road. And they've got a trip to Burnley in game week 21, which they'll fancy themselves in as well. Marvellous
And they've got
Nakamba.
momentum. I think the biggest thing for Luton now is a little bit of momentum, like beating Newcastle now,
Yeah,
beating Sheffield United. You feel like you're getting on a rhythm, and um, when you're winning, you raise your game. You have that little bit more energy, and you're just kind of on it a little bit more. It just adrenaline is there, and the gap now as well. Like I just think in the table, you're looking Luton up to Crystal Palace is 1 victory, 3 points. And
yeah.
I always
Palace
think,
are now
where can you
looking.
get to? Where can you get to with 1 win? And it's like, okay, it was a case of, well, Everton are completely safe and it's only Forest that can get dragged back in. Not anymore. You think Palace, Everton, and Forest are all within 1 victory of being caught by Luton. That raises your kind of motivation
I wouldn't be
and
worried
mindset a
about
little bit as
Everton unless
well.
they walked into injuries.
I wouldn't be long term, but I've had that said about my team so many times, and we've been so shit. They're too good to go down. I I hate that phrase. I just hate it because I've had it heard so many times about my team. And I know it's not true because the pressure of the scoreboard can really start to get to you. I think Everton won't go down, but the numbers don't lie, James. They're only 1 point off the
I'm
relegation zone.
absolutely certain Everton won't go down, even if they lost the next four or
Famous
five
last
games.
words. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree,
bring
but
it
the
up, and I
pressure is
apologise to
different.
Everton fans in the summer if they go down. I don't think they'll go. Even if, like I said, if they lost the next few and then went back in the bottom 3, I'm not worried for them. They'll pick up too many points against even in difficult fixtures. They're going to give teams a problem. We'll talk about them a bit
Could
more
have
in
said that about
a bit.
Leicester, I would say. even when they were
Yeah, but
floating around there.
look at Everton have got about the fifth best defensive record in the league, Suj. Look at Leicester last year, right?
Well,
They've got to win 3 goals to win a game. That doesn't have to be the case for Everton. For Luton, Marvelous Nakamba may have picked up a significant knee injury as one to keep an eye on. We haven't got the information on that yet. Obviously, Sambi Lokonga has been covering in midfield in any case. We've also had this really interesting thing that's kind of gone a bit under the radar. I feel, unless everybody completely sold him weeks ago, well, maybe months ago. It's obviously Adebayo's playing all the games now ahead of Carlton Morris. Morris had a big
yeah.
impact later on in the game, which certainly helped Luton, but I'm not convinced that will change. Issa Kabore is another one of those on 4 yellows. Now, that one probably won't feel like as much of a big deal, but they've got Burnley away in 21. So that's the game we'd miss. If you're carrying in a Kabore's and your Salah's sons, etc., then it's a problem. But I presume Kabore is going to go to AFCON anyway, I think.
Mhm.
I'm assuming so. Many of the African nations announced their squads over the last 48 hours or so. It might even be all of them, actually. And I didn't note him as a name that was missing. I'm sure he'll be Ivory Coast, I think he is, Issa Kabore.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll go to AFCON anyway. So that's another one. I don't know. What do you do with a player like that? Like, if you've got him and Salah's son and say kudos, he's just going to stay there, isn't he?
Yeah.
You're just going to have to lump it, I think. For Sheffield United, as I said,
He's not
major
Ivory
blow.
Coast, James.
What's that?
He's not Ivory Coast.
Where's he from?
Just a little quiz. Go on, have a guess.
Not Ivory Coast. That's my guess.
He is Burkinabe, which is how you call people from Burkina
Burkina
Faso.
Faso.
So he's a
Well, that
Burkinabe.
shows me. I bet he's in their squad.
He is,
Yeah,
James.
he's got to be.
He is.
For Sheffield United, problems going into this weekend. This is the bit that's probably going to make. Oh yeah, maybe I do want Manchester City assets. Ahmed Hodzic and Harmer obviously both suspended for this one. James
Oh,
Mac,
mate. Harmer
yeah.
being out as game over.
Well, do you know what? They obviously didn't start him at Villa, and as I
Mm,
said to you on
he
Sunday,
came
as
on
soon as he
well.
came on, they started playing a bit of football. McAtee's is the other player who's really tidy on the ball. He's
He's on loan, isn't
ineligible
he?
because he's on
Yeah.
loan. Now they get Jaden Bogle back, and I think that probably adds weight till they'll probably go to. I should imagine they'll probably go to a back five again. So it might be Larousse comes in left wing back. Maybe it might even give a start to Norrington Davis, who was back in the squad at the weekend, who is left back by trade. But he hasn't played football for about a year. I mean, that's some introduction. Go and play against Bernardo Silva. How do you fancy that? So I imagine they'll go sort of 5-4-1. We should. It's not to put anybody off if you want a captain like Alvarez or Foden's this weekend. It's fine, but we have trodden this path already this season, right? Son versus Sheffield United, Watkins versus Sheffield United, both very popular captaincies. Both didn't return. And I wouldn't be hugely shocked if Alvarez was. I can't leave him out, could I? But
No.
I wouldn't be hugely shocked if he ended up with a 2-pointer where he just struggles for opportunities because he'll go into low blocks. So,
But we do know he's taking penalties while Haaland is not out. And he does take a
yeah, but
number of set
you've
pieces
still
as
got to
well.
get a penalty. People act like penalties are given like for every game and stuff. Ask a Bournemouth fan. We should have mentioned that they
Oh,
had their
yeah.
first penalty on Saturday since black and white television. So now you know that you're a big club now, Bournemouth. Now you know you got a penalty. So look, Sheffield United are going to go low block. I'm sure they'll get beat at Manchester City, but they're probably going to make it ugly. I don't see City getting 6 or 7s or shit like that. That's my point. I'm sure they'll win
No, they
comfortably, but
struggled in the first game against it. I say struggled. They didn't go crazy in the first game against Sheffield United, did
no,
they?
Rodri came up clutch and scored a late winner in
Oh,
that fixture. And we shouldn't compare that though, because obviously it's different manager in
away
place
home.
now. But
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they're
yeah.
in a better place with Chris Wilder. I imagine they'll go 5-3-2/5-4-1, one or the other. Obviously, McBurney and Archer did play this one. Look like a little bit more in partnership. I presume most people would bench in Archer this week. That's one if you're looking out on your bench, you're probably not thinking, I want to bench boost this week. I shouldn't imagine.
Liverpool beat Burnley 2-0. Comfortable away win. I mean, Burnley had a few chances, but overall, you're thinking Liverpool are going to do the business. Bare bones up top, though. So people that started Nunes finally got some points.
Yeah,
Yay.
brilliant goal, by the way.
And Cody Gakpo, I like Cody Gakpo. I can see him working his way to be the new Firmino more than I can see Darwin Nunes doing that.
I heard a rumor this morning about Firmino going back now.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
only a rumor. It was just something I saw in passing. But apparently might be leaving Saudi Arabia. Maybe
Okay.
can't say I blame
Um,
him.
Oh, I don't know. But yes, look, they had missing players, right? No Szoboszlai in midfield as well is difficult, and then you're missing the likes of Diaz and Jota and so on and so on. But they've done what they needed to do. They've gone top of the league. Just quietly keep going about their business to Liverpool.
Yeah, look, if not for James Trafford, Liverpool would have won this more handsomely. That said, there was
Mm.
one or two, I'm going to say scary moments, but let's
They had
say
two big
concerning
chances,
moments at
Burnley.
1-0. Yeah. Couple of, I mean, particularly the Goodmanson header. What an opportunity that is. If it falls for one of the front two, probably gets scored. As I said many times on Burnley, like the team's getting a bit more settled now. But in a weird way, I look at Watkins this weekend against them, and I feel like that's almost better than when I captained him against Sheffield United last week. That's almost how it feels. You feel like you'll definitely get chances against these. That's the difference. So I do think it's been overlooked. I think because of the blank against Sheffield United, I think Watkins is a reasonable shout for captaincy this week again. Um, Settled team though for Burnley is beginning to help. James Trafford is beginning to play well in goal. That's helping him. The last few games has kept a number of saves. It's about 15 across the last two games or something. Foster being back is also a benefit and a bonus for them as well. Villa, Manchester City, and Liverpool are their next three away games. So there's something there for fantasy managers to be looking at and keeping an eye on. The two home games that they have will be massive. Luton in 21 and Fulham in 23. For Liverpool, I thought Jarell Cranston did really well at centre back, which for anyone who's gone Canate feels like you want to slap yourself in the face. And I'm pretty sure a few would have gone from Shimikas to Canate because
Yeah.
I considered that sort of move. So someone's definitely done that. I'm sure Canate is going to come back in the team and play regularly enough. I think what they've decided with him is because Matip's a long-term injury, that where they can leave him out in some of these good fixtures, they might just do it, which
Yeah, he has
then
been injury prone, Konate, since he's
well,
joined the
exactly.
club. And so why risk it? Yeah.
They need him to stay fit. So it might be that in some of Liverpool's better fixtures that he possibly gets left out. So I look at things like Burnley in game week 24, the return fixture, and he might get left out again. On Joe Gomez, obviously going to cover for Shimikas at left back. It's
Left
a
back.
fractured clavicle for Shimikas. So I don't know what the timeline is on that, but I don't think he's going to be returning for you anytime soon, unfortunately.
No.
Andy Robertson could pretty much be any time. It won't be Monday, but after that, could be pretty much any time. So Gomez short term is certainly a dangerous one as well. You're right to say, obviously, to give Szoboszlai a rest. Gakpo played to the left of Nunes, which is interesting because I think it says to us, right, Nunes is going to play the majority of games through the middle. I saw the team and thought Nunes would play left,
Yeah.
but they
I mean,
did,
that's what most people would thought.
they did it as with him through the middle. Mo Salah, if I know Mo Salah, greedy little shit that he is, he'll be desperate to score on Monday before he goes to AFCON. And
Yeah.
that's my most likely captaincy for this week. Szoboszlai will obviously come back in. Luis Diaz is fit. So obviously was part of assisting the winning goal, which was also scored by Diogo Jota, who's back at pretty good timing, really, for Liverpool, with obviously Salah going to AFCON. They need those four players over
Yeah.
the month of January, particularly considering they've got the Carabao Cup semis as well, right? So there'll be minutes for all of them. I think there's every chance they might just get rotated literally like in a circle where it'd be like, right, 3 games for you, you're out, 3 games for you, you're out, and rotate it round because they're all multifunctional, right? All of those four players you could play anywhere across the front line. I realize Diaz is far better on the left than on the right, but you could play him there on the right. If you're
Yeah.
going to
If you had
play him,
to, he's
you,
talented enough.
yeah, but Jota can play anywhere across the front three as well. He's dirty, lowly owned, obviously, Diogo Jota. Um, and I think that's an interesting differential. But I
Yeah. I
don't,
like Jota. Whenever I've
it,
owned him in fantasy, he's always
yeah,
scored me points. I do like him.
I don't think I'd buy him this week though. But I
No.
think he might be one, if he has a good game week 20, it might be one we look at going into game week 21. We go, okay, actually, he might be the one to stand in for Salah. I think you'd be concerned that it's such a short term move. Once you hit 21, it's Bournemouth away. You're obviously in good run. Chelsea at home, despite whatever you say about them, you don't really foresee that being a battering. Then they go to Arsenal. Then Salah might be back for the Burnley return. So yeah, it may just be a short-term move, but then that holds the value as well. You could just go, right, I'll go Salah Jota for the 3 games, and whenever Mo's back, I'll
Bump
just
it straight
change
back
that
up.
back if you want to. On Trent, many of you who listened to me regularly will know I'd said last Sunday that what had changed for me was Shimikas's injury. And it was clear to me that obviously in the game the other night, he's just on even more set pieces now and stuff. So he's not in must get territory, but we certainly are in the territory now where he's going to begin to hurt
Yeah.
if you don't have him. And as kind of I explained last Sunday, where there might be the case where we don't want to go back to a Salah or a Son because they may end up blanking in game week 26 and may not be back till game week 25, then I think for the majority of people moving that money, they're going to look at doing it. I see people who have not gone down there looking at -4s, so like, oh, I've got to get it fixed, I've got to get it sorted and stuff. I don't think it's desperation, but as I said, it is gonna start hurting. Most people are going there now, and pretty much any return, it looks like he's going to put him in the bonus because of where he's moving it. He's got so much involvement
Yeah.
and he's so creative with what he does in terms of his key passes and stuff. If he's now on more set pieces as well with Shimikas gone, yeah, it's going to be a dangerous one to go back. You're already there, aren't you, Suj?
Comfortably, yeah.
Would
Put
you
him off
consider
this
him for
week.
captaincy this week?
No, no,
I,
no,
I
no.
think
I
if
think
he has,
Newcastle are good enough to nick a goal with the likes of Isak and stuff. So I wouldn't consider him for captaincy. I'd want a more of a higher percentage clean sheet.
I think if he hauls this week, a lot of people will captain him in game week 21.
Mhm. At least one that we can consider that week. I think you were
Well,
talking about problems in game week 21. You didn't mention his name at the start of the show. He was there in the back of my mind as
yeah.
maybe go to him.
Wish it
Sometimes
was.
it's
I
the
wish it was
it's the
Bournemouth at home rather than Bournemouth away. But yeah, I think he could be considered absolutely.
Man United 3, Aston Villa 2, game of two halves, James. It's a
Strange game.
it's a game of two halves.
Really strange game. Like I never felt like Villa warranted being 2-0 up. And I never really felt like United warranted the comeback either. It was a really strange game. So it wasn't quite kind of a game of two halves in that sense. I think United should enjoy the victory. I know we've kind of slammed them most weeks and stuff. So look, you're
Yeah,
2-0
points are
down, you win
points.
3-2. Absolutely enjoy yourself. You deserve to. All the other stuff kind of around it doesn't matter. I think it's still papering over cracks quite a little bit. Uh, but a few things different in this game. So Wan-Bissaka obviously at right back, Dalot covering at left back. Luke Shaw's absence, we think Minor could even be back for Nottingham Forest tomorrow. Kobe Mino played, and he's kind of mainly been playing in the away games rather than the home games. It was interesting when he got subbed. I don't want to pull him out, but he got subbed at the same time as Rashford, and Rashford went off the pitch. And I thought Marcus Rashford played fine the other night, but he came off the pitch. And I don't know if the camera just panned away at the wrong time, but he didn't look like he visibly applauded the fans. Now, if he did, I apologise for that, but this is how it appeared on the TV. And the camera panned to Mino was coming off, and Mino was clapping hard and trying to G everyone up to say, like, stay with the team and stuff. And you think, fair dues, you're a young boy. Maybe the more well-known players should be doing similar. I get that his confidence is probably on the floor at the moment, Rashford. He was better the other night. So Fernandes and Ericsson played more advanced than that. Ericsson playing is good for Fernandes when United have the ball
Yep.
because it's another player who's got the creative vision. It's not just all about shutting Fernandes. You don't want to give Ericsson time. You
No.
give Christian Eriksen time, he'll pick you apart as well. You want to put pressure on him. So I think Eriksen being back is good news for Fernandes. He's not great defensively, though. Christian Eriksen playing for Manchester United possibly makes them a bit weaker defensively. Probably the most interesting one is obviously the makeup of the front three in terms of its organisational change. So I thought Højlund might miss out this game. And I'm pleased he scored his first goal because I think he's looked like a
League
willing
goal.
player who's just been a bit unfortunate, to be honest. He took the goal really well. So Rashford played on the left and Garnacho moved to the right. And I think this is part of trying to find something in Marcus Rashford at the moment, get the best out. This is where he wants to play, right? We hadn't really seen much of Garnacho on the right in previous games, and he did well out there. He
He's
is,
right-footed, isn't he? He is right-footed,
yeah,
Garnacho. Yeah.
yeah.
So kind of, I know everybody plays inverted wingers these days, but there are times where it's just like if you're a right footer on the right, you just whip the ball in. It's just that little bit easier to do
But
certain things. I don't
what
think Garnacho has much of a left foot either.
what that front three is, if that stays together, Garnacho, Hoyland, Rashford, and we can't guarantee that, right? Ten Hag spent a lot of money on Anthony, for example. But if it was to stick like that, I think I don't see any reason why it would change from Tuesday night to Saturday for it not to get another shot. Give it another shot at Nottingham Forest. More importantly, because I know people will certainly be looking at Garnacho, right? Was he 4-7, Such?
Yeah, it's cheap. I'll tell you the exact price, James. I'll look him up.
I think what
Manchester
what makes him
United.
really interesting is
Four seven.
say you're like me and you've got someone like Bailey, right? Who has done fine for me, right? I'm pleased that I've got him going into this game week, but I know he's probably not my long term as kind of a fifth midfielder, if you will. Making a move in 21, such as Salah to Garnacho, might sound ridiculous, but it then means when you want to come back to Mo, you're moving the different enabler and you might
Mm-hmm.
have a stronger one in place. Now, Garnacho comes with risk longer term. I think Anthony itself, Rashford's form, these are all things that can affect him in terms of his minutes.
And Man
But
United being rubbish.
yeah, but he's a little live wire in them,
Yeah, he is.
right? I gambled him at the start, game week 1, and he was awful in that game against Wolves. I don't know how he even made it to half time. He was so far off it. But the confidence seems to be in with him now. And I think he really feels like a part of the team. I think he's beginning to feel like not a kid in the team. I think he's beginning to feel like he's part of the team. And that's growing in terms of his confidence and his responsibility of what he's doing with things. And I think the manager now trusts him a little bit more in terms of his work off it as well. The reason why I mentioned Garnacho in terms of like a move from like Salah, and it might sound ridiculous, is not just what I said about moving perhaps a bad enabler, it's that who they're playing in game week 21. That
Which is?
front three will destroy us.
Do you
Let me
think?
tell you right now, I've dug Manchester United out a lot for the way they play, and you know what I think about the way we attempt to play. I'm telling you that if the two teams, if they line up like that, and my team rocks up with what we had at Brighton last night, they will murder us.
Whew.
Honestly,
Well,
they'll get 3 or 4 against us, and I think that as well makes Garnacho particularly really, really interesting because it's timing. It's timing. After that, there's some more trickier fixtures. Wolves, West Ham, Villa being right. We'll use him as an enabler. Then 25 is Luton away. 26 Fulham at home during a blank if Fulham don't make the Carabao Cup final. But when you're losing players in game week 26 as well, because it's probably going to be Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham blank in game week 26 if Liverpool, Chelsea make the final. Having Garnacho as the fifth midfielder at home to Fulham in game week 26 feels
it's
quite
useful.
attractive as
Yeah,
well.
I do think that's good strategy, James.
So I think he's going to come into real consideration for me. He is as much consideration for game week 21 for me as the likes of Odegaard, Foden going to Newcastle and stuff like that. And it might be that I feel different about it come Sunday, but I'm so confident, unfortunately, that Manchester United will beat us in game week 21. They'll have so much fun on the counter attack. It suits them. It's like going back to Ollie Solskjaer ball, right? We can
Mm.
sit in, be a bit more protective of it. I don't think they defend badly in those circumstances, actually. It's when on transition they get turned over, they're in big trouble. When they counter attack themselves, it's still a dangerous outfit. I think Garnacho at 4.7 is really, really interesting.
Do you think Villa are going to mix it up? I mean, they had three, I wouldn't call them holding midfielders, but when you got McGinn, Louise, and then Donker in there, that's kind of normally they've been playing with two holders and maybe three attackers in front, like just McGinn and Louise, for example. What's behind moving McGinn further forward ahead of like a Diaby in that position, for example? Do you think it will revert back to just McGinn and Louise and get Diaby back in the team, or do you think McGinn is now going to be the solution to?
So unfortunately, because the deadline stream failed, it's only my patrons will know this, but that's the 11 I predicted he'd go
Right.
with Den Donker in it as kind of a, oh, that would be a bit of a surprise. I just wasn't sure whether they'd play McGinn or Ramsey as the 10. And that was on reflection of what I'd said after Sheffield United was he won't have liked the moving parts of the puzzle. There wasn't enough movement. It was only really when Bailey and Diaby overlapped positioning. Otherwise, there wasn't. They've normally got 3 or 4 different parts within the team that move. And
Mm.
they couldn't do that with the setup of Bailey, primary Cash, and Diaby all together in the same team. And obviously, Boubacar Kamara was a miss. And
Mm.
I'd said going into the Sheffield United game, play your Villa assets because what I think he'll do is he'll just go, well, it's Sheffield United at home. I think I can get away with this. And I bet you he regrets it. I bet you regrets, honestly, not playing someone like a Dendoncker against Sheffield United. Therefore, I think something like this might stick against Burnley. Now, we might do the same thing, go, well, they're so open on turnovers that having Diaby up with Watkins and Bailey wide, perhaps with a more defensive right back like Ezri Konsa, because I'm assuming Matty Cash, I saw him go off late in the Sheffield United game, clutching his arm in the same way Shimikas was. So I'm presuming there'll be some sort of update later today to say he's in trouble as well. So perhaps with Konsa at right back, the return of Pau Torres, who was on the bench as well, might mean that yes, Diaby, Bailey might both play together. And again, I think in your circumstances, I think you should play. But I wouldn't see him leaving Ramsey out. I wouldn't see him leaving Louise out. So then does he want to play Dendoncker again in this sort of game or not? Now, because Cash is absent, he might go, actually, I don't mind. I'll go McGinn back in midfield with Louise. We'll have that real slant that we always used to talk about with Villa with Alex Moreno pushing up down the left-hand side. And it might be that Bailey and Diaby just alternate in terms of right wing and centre forward to join Watkins. So there's a
Cool,
few different
cool.
things they can do. And when they're a little bit less predictable, they're a bit better, by the way, Aston Villa. I think the return of Pau Torres will be a bonus. I'm pretty sure he'll play this weekend. I've obviously got him in my FPL team. I'd be very surprised, as he was a sub on Tuesday, wasn't it? I'd be very surprised if he doesn't start. Moreno is the really interesting one. Really interesting. There'll be a number of people listening or watching on Wildcard. I think you should go for him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
throw him in. Throw him in with Porro and Trent if you're on Wildcard, and have some fun with those three. Malo Gusto, and then pick your other one, Gabriel
Trent.
probably. And that's your back five on
Trent.
Wildcard, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trent, Porro, Moreno, Gusto, and Gabriel, I think.
Nice.
And you're going to find yourself having weeks where you leave Gabriel out, which is going to feel shit. But yeah, I'd gamble him. Villa's fixture run is really good. Really good up to the FA Cup quarterfinals. So I think I'd want to gamble Moreno now. Dean, as said, suspected hamstring injury. So I think he's 5, I think, Alex Moreno. I'd pay it. I'm not going to move Torres to Moreno myself. But if I was on wildcard, I'd definitely want to get him in. Watkins would still be a part of that. I probably wouldn't be gambling the likes of Leon Bailey at this stage, to be very honest with you. I think what happened was, I think they probably surprised themselves, Villa, with how easy it was to get into the position where they were 2-0 up. They weren't great for me. They've been the better side, but I don't think they were great. Then they got ahead and the game became very easy towards the end of the first half. And you're looking at this, and to be honest, at the end of the first half, I was thinking, slow down, Villa.
Right, James, we've done an hour and we've done only half the games.
I was
So
thinking,
fuck that game off.
I
Enough,
think
enough, enough.
I was thinking,
Brentford
slow down,
Wolves.
Villa, because Ten
Who
Hag's going to get
cares? We've got to
sacked,
keep
and I
it
want it to
moving.
stay at the moment.
No, we're done. Right, we're going to do the next 3 games, 2 minutes a game, because otherwise we're going to be here till fucking New Year's Eve. Brentford 1, Wolves 4. Biggest stat for me for this was 4 big chances for Wolves, 0 missed. Like normally you always see like 2 chances, 1 missed or something like that. 4 goals from 4 big chances. If you take your chances, you're going to win a game of football.
Well, Lamina's had a header from like 6 yards that he can't miss. He arrives into the penalty area brilliantly. Huang gets a brilliant present from Nathan Collins, walks around the goalkeeper and has an open goal. I suppose that'll go down as a big chance.
Yeah.
His finish for the third one isn't a big chance when it initially comes to him, but the way he manufactures the chance is magnificent. And then the finish to kind of reverse hook it on a half volley near post, beautiful goal. And then Collins had another brain fart, which led to Bellegarde obviously scoring the 4th goal. Collins, of course, former Wolves player. And he looked one of them. You looked at it and you thought when they were doing the close up, you think, oh shit, your confidence is on the floor here. That's not good. And he's a player I really like. I first saw him live for Burnley at Tottenham in Gameweek 37 a couple of years ago, and I think he was really, really good. And he's a player of good potential. But Ben Mee will still be suspended for the game at Crystal Palace this weekend, and that's a miss. Frank and Yeka will be back. They are beginning to get some players back, Brentford, and there's a number who might be back in game week 21. Pretty much maybe everybody, bar Rico Henry and Brian Bumo, and that includes Mr. Ivan Toney, one game to go, and then he's
Without
back.
him. Yeah.
For Wolves, I think last time we spoke about him, Suj, we went, yeah, at Molineux pretty strong, but pretty shit away from home. So let's give him praise and credit here. That said, Brentford still had plenty of chances in the game. It just felt like what you said. Wolves were ruthless in their executions.
The
Hwang,
XG was pretty even. It was like
yeah,
2.2 to 2.3. It
and,
wasn't like Wolves completely
and a lot of that
dominated. They
obviously
just
game state is important to reference from that perspective because Wolves have led for right the whole game basically. Um,
But
Hwang
this is
might,
it, right? Goals change games massively. I
of
saw
course,
it yesterday with Ali. If you get yourself ahead and you've got something to cling on to, or you're chasing, the tactics get out the window if you get an early goal.
Hwang might make Saturday. Gary O'Neill said because obviously he came off late in the first half.
Mm.
It was interesting. We was having a debate on the watch along. What would you rather have? Would you rather have the two goals and a bad injury, or would you rather have the blank but he's fit for the next game? I was like, it's got to be worth the injury, isn't it? Because if you've got the points on the board, you can take a -4 to get rid of him because his points have just paid for it. If that's what
Yeah,
it
it's got to
takes.
be. Yeah, I'd agree.
Obviously, look, either way, this will be his last game for a while because he's obviously going to go to the Asia Cup.
Asia Cup.
But
Yep.
there's every chance he'll play this week. But I would say because it's a Wednesday to Saturday turnaround, it might even be the shrewd play to sell him now, the week
It's a
early
home
for those who've
fixture
got.
back at Molineux,
Yeah,
but
but
against a good defensive team
yeah,
in Everton.
yeah. I think if you held and he's a sub, you'd probably be a bit disappointed with that. And I think there's every chance that that might be what they do. But the reports were that he was moving absolutely fine by the time sort of the game finished. And I don't know, maybe Wolves could have even let him go to half time and did a minute or two without him. I don't know. Santiago Bueno covered at centre back for Dawson. Did fine, but Dawson will be a miss. We don't know
Mm.
the prognosis of quite how long he'll be out at this stage, but I suspect it might be a while. He is going to be a miss. And the one thing with them obviously playing Kilman, Santiago Bueno, and Toti Gomez, the back three now, you don't really have any other cover if they lose another one. Also, I think it's really important to reference the importance of Ray and Eight Nori, who's obviously playing this kind of hybrid left wing back role. And I'm not suggesting anyone goes and buys him for FPL, but that little period that he missed a few games, I think Wolves dipped and he's back and it's better. It's just the structure is much better for them when he's in the team, offensively and defensively.
Chelsea managed to get some points, James. 2-1 home winners
Just
against Crystal Palace. Yeah, I mean, look, from an attacking point of view, kind of missing Cole Palmer and Raheem Sterling meant they were, I wouldn't say down to bare bones, but Ian Matson coming in alongside Nkunku, Mudryk, and Jackson. Conor Gallagher, obviously, captain in the team as well. It was points that they needed because they are quite adrift from I don't know, top six, top eight, whatever you want to
well,
kind
they've
of look
got to
at.
have
Anywhere
ambitions
near
over this
Europe,
this group of
they're
fixtures
they're
where they've got to be winning games if they want to
well
qualify for
behind.
Europe.
Yeah, I think this is take the points and go, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
The
listen,
XG wasn't too bad, but that's obviously skewed massively by the
the penalty
penalty,
at the
right?
end.
Mm.
To be honest, watching the game, and I was watching multiple games Wednesday night. It felt when it got into the last 10 minutes, felt like the game was there to be won for Palace. Actually, like on the turnover, felt like Chelsea were gambling to win it, and they were open and there to be exposed. And there was a couple of times I felt like at least they played really well, but I felt like go at your man a bit quicker here and go and win the game, take responsibility for it. And that didn't particularly happen. So yeah, decent result for Chelsea. Yes, a number of players missing. Sterling and Palmer, I presume, will both start on Saturday at Luton. Again, factor in a really tight turnaround. It's 12:30 kickoff. Who knows? You may even get some leaks in terms of what the Chelsea team is. But I think like the likes of Nkunku, he's a major doubt not to start. I'm sure he's going to get in that team and he's going to stay in that team. He played as the 10, basically. And I think they'd rather use him on the left. Mudryk
Nkunku,
might Mudryk
really?
might have picked up a problem towards the end of the game,
So who would
which
play number 10? Palmer,
I think so now,
and
yeah.
then Sterling on the right,
Well, he's
and
he's
then
been their
Jackson
best
up
player.
top. Do you think that
Yeah.
would be their preferred front four?
Yeah, I
Nkunku on the
think
left,
the
Palmer,
idea of Palmer
Sterling.
Sterling at 10 and right means that they can flip that in the way you do with sort of Bowen and Kudos. Very different because you're talking about the right top end.
Striker
But
and
you
yeah, yeah.
can just flip them within game and go, okay, do you know what? I want Sterling to go central and get on the turn and run at people. Or you might think that Palmer plays at 10 and he might be back to goal too much. So moving him to the right will open up the game and he can see it better. And Chelsea will certainly benefit from, and Kunku can play right across the front line as well. But I don't think he's certain to start this weekend. I wouldn't be diving into him this weekend personally, but he will get in the team. I also think, as I said near the start, I wouldn't be certain that Gusto plays this week personally. I do think that they might just look at, fuck it, Luton. I'm going to play the four
Yeah,
big
yeah,
lads at the back.
yeah. And he's done that before.
Where he plays Gusto, in terms of how offensive he's going to be, seems to be very dependent, I think, on what Thiago Silva's doing. And this might change again. The other thing to say is Ben Chilwell's not far away, and that might have a real impact on Gusto. But then Pochettino kept saying he couldn't play him left back anyway, so maybe he'll go and play left wing. And then that transition into a back three could become more natural, that they can't really do at the moment. But basically, whichever fullback plays outside Thiago Silva needs to hold his hand at the moment. They're really worried about him getting exposed, I think. And he has been, I always feel the need to say it. He's one of the best centre backs I've ever seen. But they're having to protect him at the moment. And we might be coming towards the end where the decision needs to be made. The problem is the team is so young and inexperienced. That team, I think, was the 8th youngest ever fielded in a Premier League game.
Oh wow. Okay.
So they
I've
still
got
need someone like that with his experience and leadership. I realise Sterling's sort of 29 and stuff. He's not the sort of player I'd look at as like a leader, to
I've got
be honest.
SofaScore up in front of me, James, and they love to stick the old first 11 average age 23.1. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is
I think
young.
it's the 8th youngest. And by the way, I think 4 of the ones that are younger were all like in May, i.e. like nothing games where young players have
Yeah,
been
they're the
blooded and
kids and
stuff. Yeah.
stuff. Oh, okay. Wow, interesting. Right, let's move on to Everton 1, Man City 3. Marred a little bit by controversy with the two incidents that were particularly talked about, being the handball and then obviously this stupid offside shit, which has been, I feel like someone's going to get injured has been talked about all season, and then finally it's happened. Where had it not happened, everyone would be like, well, you keep saying someone's going to get injured, but no one has. Well, now someone has. And I do actually feel for Pep in this one because I think it's stupid. But overall, you'd say that
It's
Man
what they're
City
playing
deserves
to,
to
isn't
win.
it? Unfortunately, you can't blame the linesman
No, you can't, and you
because
can't
that's
blame
what
the
he's told to
handball's the
do.
rule. It's the rule, and yeah, as Pep would call it, the big bosses, right? So, yeah, frustrating. But overall, you'd say City deserved to win in the end. Although Everton gave him a bit of a go.
Yeah, Everton gave them the difficult game that I thought they would.
Mm.
And I think City fans must have been really, really kind of concerned sort of first half and hard time. They had chances like Pickford made a couple of good saves. Nunes should have done better with one. Then Alvarez had the rebound effort. Pickford made a double save. Um, but I think what's really important to get across is what happened in the second half. Certainly once from the point that City got ahead. It was the first time I'd watched them in a really long time look like Manchester City. And it was the first time I'd seen Everton in a while look like they knew they were a beaten team. And that's a little bit ominous for the others at the top of the table, that City might have just come back from the Club World Cup and suddenly it might just go.
They always have a moment where they just turn it on and
They
they're
purred.
going to go and run.
They
Yeah.
absolutely purred in that last 20 minutes. You know, when you play them, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I can't get the ball. Okay, it looked like them at their best.
But
You just,
also, I mean, look, it's the end of a very busy, hectic schedule for a lot of teams, including Everton.
yeah, and you can argue that City have just had 2 preseason friendlies. You know,
And a
congratulations
bit
on
of
winning the
a
Club World Cup,
warm weather training.
but yeah, to be honest, yeah. And it wouldn't be the first team to go away and have something like this and then come back and start dominating. Certainly,
Mm.
some of Alex Ferguson's Manchester United teams have done that in the past, where they come back from that little break over Christmas. I realise it's not a break, but you know what I mean? It is
Yeah,
that warm weather
yeah,
training,
yeah.
basically, and then come back and bang, hit the ground running. They need to keep players fit though. So losing Stones is not good, because I said a couple of weeks ago that I thought his return would really help facilitate. Obviously, with him going off, they moved to Kanji into midfield instead, which we'd seen in the past. That's not as good. What they also did very interestingly later in the game, though, was he held position and Kyle Walker really pushed on the right hand side. And what that enabled was Bernardo to get into areas with Foden, which I can absolutely understand why people want to buy Phil Foden this week. Absolutely can understand that. I can't justify it. I just can't justify a transfer with what I've got. But if I was making one, I think it'd be top the agenda for me, would be to
Yeah.
get him in. I think he's capped all this week. I think you're at a rare stage with him as well, where because of how they're setting up at the moment, not only can you feel safe that he's going to start, I think, but you can also feel safe that he's going to play in a position where he can do the most damage, which is basically as a
Are
right-sided
you
eight
sure we
ten
can
hybrid.
feel safe? Boom,
Can we
boom.
ever feel safe about Phil Foden? Maybe not, but sometimes you can look at James, that's a 3 day turnaround as well. Yeah, but in this one, maybe you just want to look at it and go, your Manchester City don't play again for 8 days afterwards. And there's also that to factor into this weekend, which I to reverse what I said earlier about Sheffield United, and I don't think they'll get done 6-7s. There's no reason for Manchester City to take their foot off the pedal if they do really go for it, and you know they're capable. So, yeah, if I was making a transfer this week, I don't know, if suddenly one of my midfielders is injured today for whatever reason, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd be buying Phil Foden, Suj.
Cool, cool. Let's move it on to last night's action, which started with Brighton 4, Tottenham 2. Or we could say first 75, 80 minutes, 4-0, but you did win the last 10 minutes, 2-0, James.
Yeah, we're going to put that one in the trophy cabinet, obviously. The
Well,
We'll put it in our trophy cabinet. The nearly drew 4-4 away from home.
yeah, I
Um,
hadn't seen Brighton play for a little while, if I'm honest with you. And obviously they haven't been playing particularly well, but the way that they move around the pitch, that there's always players in space and the ball is just moving so fluid,
yeah,
was a joy. They were really good yesterday, and they haven't been for
yeah.
a while, we have to add. But yesterday was like, oh, I recognize that team.
Well, yeah, and also let's factor in, and there's no excuse held to Tottenham on this one because Tottenham have had a good break, but it's the first time in ages Brighton have had a week-long break.
Yeah.
And we know they've got their injury problems. They've obviously lost a Dingo and Mitoma, so you can argue on about Tottenham's injuries. Listen, basically Tottenham had no spine last night,
I
but
think everyone's now
Brighton had no width, right? So
got, yeah.
and De Zerbi was got round it really cleverly by adjusting a few little parts. We're so used to them playing with a front three where the two wide players just literally hold the touchline. So I don't know if it was part to stop Tottenham playing. But what they did last night was just tuck Pedro in alongside Welbeck, and they were tucking Buonanotte from the right-hand side to fill into the 10 position off the ball. And James Milner was also tucking in, but also had free reign in possession to just move back out to a left wing position where we hadn't really seen him play before for Brighton. And it worked a treat for them. I think particularly off the ball, we struggled. Both teams, I mean, look, when they play each other again, which by the way is Saturday 3 o'clock, so sorry if you're in the UK, you're not going to see it unless you illegally stream the game. But
Or
this,
buy tickets.
or buy tickets, which won't be easy to come by, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But the two teams are both brilliant and bad for each other.
Yeah.
So they're brilliant for each other because you know that you'll get opportunities against the other one. They're bad for each other because both teams are very capable of pressing. Even Tottenham's look at the first goal last night comes from
Yeah.
Kulusevski pressing into Dunk. There's a turnover. And there were a lot of them in the game. There was a lot of good football where you're playing through lines and stuff. And there was a lot of winning the ball high and stuff. And Brighton got it much better than Tottenham on the night. And Foley deserved to win. And to be honest, but for Vicario in goal, couldn't have complained.
XG of the match though, 3.5 versus 2.3. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is where you have to be careful with stats
There's a
sometimes
penalty in
because
there and
if
stuff.
well, but it's not that you could say, well, Brighton had two penalties. If you take the 1.5 effective out of Brighton's penalties, then who had the better XG last night?
Yeah.
Right, but that's a nonsense because Brighton absolutely deserved to win.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I said, Vicario probably stopped it being seriously damaging in the
He
first half.
impressed actually, to be honest with you, because
He's a really good goalkeeper, mate.
he came in unheard of, right? And
Yep.
started well, and you guys had a good start to the season. You're a bit uncertain. I think we're established now that yes, he is a good goalkeeper.
I think
Premier League standard. No,
you
no
make a
question about
debate,
that.
despite it not being the first time he's conceded 4 goals this season. You make a debate. He's possibly been best goalkeeper in the league this season. Be up for debate. Oh,
Yeah.
Villa fans, shoot me, Emi Martinez, and all that. And yeah, come
Listen,
for
I'd
me.
make an argument for our goalkeeper the amount of times he saved us in games, but
Stop leaving him on your FPL bench, then, mate.
don't, it hurts already. It hurts.
For Brighton, I
Yeah.
highly recommend it because it's still very useful. Although the predictions are all over the place. Listening back to yesterday's clash of correspondence, we had Chris Stone, our West Ham correspondent, and Sam Murray, our Brighton correspondent, because we talk about Brighton assets a lot. And I don't
Hmm.
think there's anything last night would particularly change that, other than we know his Stupinan is fit. We know he can smash the thing from 30 yards, and likes to do that now and again. It doesn't often go in. This time it did, and it's a worldy goal. He is added to that list of excited defensive players.
Agreed.
However, yet again, no clean sheet. So with the others, you feel like there will be some. Honestly, the way this team plays, Suj, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get a clean sheet all season. But the run that's coming up after West Ham, when a lot of people will want to make transfers going into 21, Wolves, Luton, Palace, the reverse game at Tottenham, Sheffield United, Everton, Fulham, Nottingham Forest is a super run of
Okay.
fixtures.
So, question for you then, based on a comment you made earlier: 5 million Alex Moreno, 4.9 million Estupinan. Who would you buy?
Because of what's right in front of my face this week, Moreno.
Okay, as in for the whole of January.
And Villa's fixtures are good as well. Villa's fixtures are also really
So you
good
still
up for
think
that same period.
Moreno over Estupinan
For me, yes.
for the majority of people,
For
probably.
me, for me, yes. I do think his Stupinan will probably by necessity need to start at West Ham. But with some of the other defensive players you love going into this way, I mean, I couldn't foresee any way that you wouldn't score against them. In fact, to be honest, on what I'd seen last night, I think you probably beat them, to be honest.
Good.
Um, it
It
suits
should be a
you.
completely
You
different game
know
of
you're going to
football.
have 25% of the
Completely
ball.
different game of football than what happened
25% of the
last night.
ball.
Yeah.
It will suit you. It won't suit them. And they're vulnerable when the ball goes into the box. Simple as that. And you can pinch it off them high as well. But yeah, really good. I just want to shout out Jack Hinshelwood.
Yeah.
I thought, absolutely brilliant at right back. Um, Dealt
Did
with
he wear any
Heung-min
shin
Son.
pads?
Uh,
Who
didn't
knows?
didn't really.
That's a
If he
patron
was, they
photo.
were very small.
Cardboard.
He's that kind of Jack Grealish kind of. Maybe it's the look
Yeah,
of the socks makes you feel
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Obviously, plays in completely opposite position. He's a midfield player who I first saw play at Aston Villa when they got beat 6-1, and he got absolutely swamped on second balls in midfield. And I thought, oh, you're not ready for this. How good is he, mate?
Yeah, he
What
was
a
good yesterday.
brilliant little talent he is. Pascal Gross gives them a nice calming influence all the way. I think he's one that can be considered. And João Pedro, he's probably going to play quite a lot over this period. And I don't even hate that. Not this week, but it might be one to look at next week. We go, should we be shoving Solanke or Alvarez into João Pedro for this run? I think with Welbeck fit as well, he's probably got the favouritism over Ferguson, but you don't really want to buy Welbeck. And we certainly know, I've almost without doubt now, that João Pedro is going to be on the pens when he's on the pitch. He's 11 out of 11, is he, in English football?
Hmm.
So he looks, when he walks up, you think, yeah, he's going to score as well.
Yeah,
Brilliant
he had a bit of
assist.
swagger about him yesterday.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
really good player. It's only their third win since game week 6, Suj. But
yeah, and
this
they're
is,
still in and about it.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, imagine if they'd have put a good run together. And of course, for them now, it's no Europa up till between game week 27 and game week 28. I wouldn't be surprised if they went on a really good run. For my team, I'd say
Is Davis and Royal now going to be centre backs for the foreseeable?
they certainly play Royal over Dyer. There's no doubt about it.
And then Højbjerg in front with Sarr.
Personally, for me, I would play Højbjerg over Skip there anyway. Personally, and Oliver Skip missed out last night. But Ange said he'd probably be available for Sunday. He was with the team at the stadium, so
And no Kulu. It
he'd be
feels like,
suspended.
yeah, I
So Lo
don't feel we got the
Celso
depth
has to
there.
play. It's also not coincidental. I know he gave a stupid penalty away, right? They both did, Lo Celso and Kulusevski. Fucking idiots with the penalties they give away, right? Like, the team isn't in enough trouble. Let's just give away the two most blatant penalties you can see all season. But no coincidence, by the way, once again, that Lo Celso comes on the pitch and Tottenham start playing better. So he'll play in the 10 position. There's no choice. You
Mm.
have to anyway. I personally, as I said on one of the pods we did earlier in the week, I think on Patreon, I would play Lo Celso as the 6 because he works hard enough and at least he retains possession. So he's a calming influence. We'd have to play a little bit slower, but when the centre backs are giving the ball in, watching Højbjerg and Skip, they turn like forklift trucks, mate, to use an old Adam Pritchard analogy for Granit Xhaka. Actually, Xhaka's better than both of those two players, unfortunately. So at least Lo Celso, you can feed it into him and he's got an understanding of spatial awareness. And then I would have Højbjerg and Sarr probably as runners in front of him. I don't think Ange will do that, by the way. The Celso will almost definitely play at the weekend. I know there's a few will have him knocking about as their fifth midfielder. You could certainly get it's almost certain to play at the weekend. Brennan Johnson, I think he's wank, Suj. I think he's just quick.
Okay.
It's just quick. It doesn't look up to it for me. But again, he's got to play at the weekend. There's no choice. But I think there might come a stage where Kulusevski will move back to the right, particularly say when Maddison's back, and he's either going to get shunted to the left to cover for Son, or he'll come out the team. Because what I see is the one thing with last night was we obviously got well beat. But I didn't see no lack of effort or nothing from the majority of the players. There's a couple that are letdowns from that perspective. He's one. I think Sonny's another one, by the way, who I think needs to do more as captain in terms of his upper body strength and his work for the team. I know he works hard, but sometimes I think he works in the wrong ways for the team. Those two have such a pivotal role as wide players in this system. And I know I said it kind of before the Newcastle game and after the Newcastle game. If he goes wide left, he's not really an option. And of course, he hauled against Newcastle, didn't he? And he's always capable of that. But I don't think if this is going to stick with Richarlison up front, and I know he's returned again yesterday, I don't necessarily think we're diving back for Sonny, which I part explained was kind of fixture related on the last podcast. I won't repeat myself on that, but listen back between sort of minute 14 and 19 of Sunday's podcast. Thanks, FPL Harry, for the share on that. I don't think I necessarily want to dive back to Son. And obviously by that point as well, hopefully Maddison's back fit and these things might help from that perspective. Richarlison probably is going to stay through the middle. I'll be honest, he's frustrating as hell. I wish he could stay on side a little bit more. He was on the borderline between a massive haul last night and being what it was of next to nothing. As I said earlier when discussing Bournemouth, I wouldn't be surprised if we got beat. I certainly would not be invested in any Tottenham player right now unless his name was Pedro Porro.
Last but not least, there was a game at the Emirates yesterday. Arsenal 0, West Ham United 2. We were written off by a lot of people,
including me. I'm very happy to be wrong. Well done.
There was some joy for you yesterday in seeing the red half of North London.
My dad's standing there on Brighton train station. By the way, this prick tried to get out of the ground at 75 minutes.
Nah.
He said, "Come on, let's go." And I said, "You know the way home." So he did. So obviously he didn't go, did he? Honestly, I didn't think the game was dead. I had a feeling that if we scored,
I didn't think you'd get back into it, but I did think there was got a couple of goals in it.
I said to Dad at half time, I said, "We're either going to get something from this or we're going to lose about 5-0, is what I said. And it was close. Honestly, at 4-2, there was, if we'd have got a third, I think we'd have done it.
Then I think so, yeah.
They were shitting themselves. There is a lot about, why couldn't we play that way in the first 10 minutes, last 10 minutes of the first 80? But yeah, by the by.
Then why didn't they play like that? Because they were not 4-0 up. What did he say on the train platform?
Oh, no, but to be honest, firstly, he thanked me for making him stay because the trip home better from at least seeing that effort in the last 15 minutes was better than just leaving at 4-0 and thinking, well, that was shit. He tried to, I told him Arsenal were losing and he tried to get the game on his phone, and he silly prick went on the Sky Go. I was like, that ain't gonna work. Game's on Amazon in my pit. Well, I ain't got Amazon on my phone. I'm like, look, man, I'll let you know if there's another goal. Don't worry about it.
Well done. Indeed. I mean, this was I don't know if there's a team in the league. If you're setting up in 2 banks of 4 or 4 and a 5 and going to hit teams on the counter, and there are plenty of teams in the lower half of the table that sit in low block, if you want to call it. I don't think there's a team that can do it as well as we do. We just hold our shape so well, bodies on the line. It was everything you'd expect. Moyes masterclass in terms of sit in, nick a couple of goals on the counter, but at no point is it peppered with shots and under huge amounts of pressure. Having said that, Saka doesn't hit the post in the first half and it goes in and it goes to 1-1. The dynamic of the game is very different, right? But they didn't, and they had a number of other chances where they should do better. But Odegaard needs to take, he's the creative player in there, right? He's the one that's got to unpick the lock, and sometimes he can't. And it felt where they had the odd chances and shots are flying off or we're getting blocks in, and sometimes you just feel like they ain't going to do it today. And it really felt like as better as they are than us, they weren't going to do it. And West Ham come away with a 2-0 win. And Arsenal have this problem. They've had it against a few teams where there's no plan B, or players like Jesus and stuff like that just become anonymous in games like this where they don't have an answer to what's in front of them. Um, but having said that, before the game started, you're looking at the two centre backs as second choice centre backs in Ogbonna and Mavropanos. Um, and yeah, we're all shitting ourselves. And Paqueta then obviously gets injured in the warm up. The rumors before the game started were, oh, is he starting? Is he not? We see him in the tunnel. All right, he's starting. He lasted what, 20 minutes or something? I don't even know. It
33,
was
wasn't it?
33. There we go. And he's now out with a knee problem. You
You said
really are
back of his
concerned.
knee.
Back of his knee, he felt something.
It's gotta be probably if it's anything above that, it's hamstring, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely no idea because when he went down. I don't know if you saw it, there was a moment he was in a kind of defensive midfield position where he used his body to turn the ball away. He came away from a couple of Arsenal players in the way that he does, and then literally just kicked the ball into touch and just lay down on the floor like it was it done. But he still walked off and looked like he was going to come back on the pitch for the duration of while Ben Rama was getting ready to come and be his sub. And you're like, just if you're fucked, just why are you bothering? So it
Uh,
can't be that bad that he can't walk and can't come back on the
no,
pitch.
but
But it's bad enough that he had to go off.
interestingly, I don't think a lot of people know this, but Romero obviously went off for us at half time against Everton at the weekend, and he's obviously done his hamstring. It's obviously not grade whatever because he's not going to miss like 3, 4 months. It's sort of 4 to 5 weeks. I think he got injured in the first 5 minutes, Suj. He was down for
Well,
a little
he's
while
got injured
right at
in
the
the
start of
warm
the
up.
game and he was struggling to get up. So I think he's probably made the
Oh,
situation worse by carrying on playing the game.
yeah. But yeah, look, this is it. Arsenal easily could have won because they did have enough chances to win. But I don't think any of their fans, and I haven't heard any of their fans walk away and say that it was a robbery by any stretch. The most of the kind of things I'm hearing is they need to find a way in games like this and get better, as opposed to West Ham was shit and just sat in. It's what you expect. It's what you've seen from us
I
all
assume,
season.
like, I've literally only seen the kind of the 3 minutes highlights of the game. I haven't seen any interviews afterwards. Mikel Arteta not using disgracia as an excuse or anything
No,
like that this week.
no, no,
There's
none
been
of
no
that.
outrage about this ball that looks like it's out,
Um,
but they couldn't prove that it was out. I'm guessing that's
you
what the
can't prove it,
circumstance
right?
is.
And at the end of the day, it's one of them. We're wasting 5 minutes. If you can't tell, you can't tell on-field decision. Simple. And I'd be the same the other way. I'd rather just not waste time on it. Um, it is what it is. Couldn't care less.
Why
But
should you?
if you
It
can't
went to
tell,
your
you can't
benefit.
tell, right? If you can't tell, it's like the Willock one. Just go with the on-field decision because if you can't tell, you can't tell.
Well, you can't say, well, it looks out unless
No.
you can prove it for that. Because ball in or out is matter of fact. Did he pull his shirt? Is still whatever. But matter of fact, yeah, you've got to prove that it does look out though. Even more so than the Newcastle one, I think.
Yeah. Obviously, it could have been 3-0 with Declan Rice giving away. You talking about stupid penalties. That would have been the icing on the cake if we'd won 3-0 with Declan Rice giving away a penalty in the 93rd minute, just lunging in like that on Emerson.
Do you think that because I know Arsenal fans were starting this fundraiser to give West Ham more money for the
Cool.
transfer, do you think they've sat that off and went, we'll give them 3 points instead?
I think there's something written in the contract, in the sale agreement that they can no longer beat us. Look, Arsenal. Uh, they need to find a way in games like this. They're running Saka's like it just feels like he's running to the ground again and again, and they're flogging him to pieces. And he's the one that was the creative spark within the team. Martinelli looked lost and couldn't do anything. I don't know whether Trossard was the right choice in that team necessarily. Maybe sticking in Jorginho and pushing Rice further
So
forward or
I,
something.
w- I
But
I was I mentioned about the idea of benching Saka this week for me rather than Solanke, and on the way home I was thinking, yeah, it's conflicting having Solanke against Pedro Porro, but maybe that's what I should do. He's just bench Saka at Fulham. Yeah, and I watched those 3 minute highlights when I got in. I went, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to. Even from that little bit, I went, no, I don't want to do that. And I know his performances are massively kind of, certainly in terms of his FPL returns, are very much underwhelming at the moment. And I think
still
I
the
said,
main man though.
yeah, but I said this a few weeks ago. It's like you look at 21. This is really interesting again because a lot of people again are going to be moving Sons and Salahs into midfielders, right? So you look at the fixtures immediately in front of you and you start thinking, right, Chelsea against Fulham. Okay, yeah, cool. What am I going to do? Add Sterling to Palmer for most people. Probably don't want to do that. And you go, right, Arsenal home to Palace, right? Palace are not performing well at the moment. Looks a good fixture. Probably looks the best one on paper, maybe from a captaincy. But I said this about Saka a few weeks ago, like great asset. I don't ever really want to particularly stick the armband on him at the
No,
moment. And
agreed.
also, I'd be looking at that week now, and I think many others would be thinking this. I'll buy Odegaard. Not sure I want to do that. Martinelli, you wouldn't want to buy at the moment.
No,
So, was the missing piece in the jigsaw last night? Was it actually?
Havertz.
Was it? Is that what was missing for them last night?
Maybe. But the one thing with Kai Havertz as well is that he's got a little bit of fight about him as well. He is a bit in your face and aggressive and a little bit of a
Yeah,
shit
he's a
that
bit
you
of a
need to
twat, isn't
raise.
he?
Yeah, you
And
need
my
to
team's
raise,
got
and you
my
need
team's
that in
got
certain
twats as
games like
well.
this. Yeah, we all do. We need that in certain games. Look, they're going to go away to Fulham. It's going to be a tough game. I wouldn't be obviously benching any Arsenal assets. And that Brighton game now, West Ham versus
Well,
Brighton.
well, I might. Or
Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Yeah. I can see that.
What
As
do I do? Play
it
Gabriel
depends on
at
who else
Fulham, or
you've
do I play
got.
Pau Torres at home to Burnley?
No, you play Pau Torres.
I'm not leaving, even though I said I think there's every chance we might get better. I can't believe Porro out in a home fixture like that, where there is the potential of what it can be, and I ain't leaving Trent out.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna have to, I think.
yeah, indeed. I'm looking forward to the Brighton game. I mean, we could get beat comfortably, but from a tactical point of view, that is the ultimate clash of styles going against each other next week, Tuesday, West
J-
Ham Brighton.
just quickly, because we're gonna do our game review on Tuesday next week, which will obviously be before you play Tuesday night. So we
Mm.
might not get to hear your opinion on this. What do you think will happen with Bowen while Kudos is away?
Uh, Interesting because we don't think Antonio's fit again, and now we don't know the prognosis on Paqueta as well.
Mm.
That's the other problem. So Ben Rama came on for him
But he's going to have Con
yesterday.
as well.
So that's not a long-term solution. I think the player that we need to use to fill Paqueta's shoes is going to have to be Ward-Prowse because he's the only one with the passing ability to find the through ball to get in behind. Like if I want someone chipping the ball over the top, it's got to be him. I think we'll just find a solution on the left. I think Fornals maybe will come in the left and Ward-Prowse will play the furthest forward out of the three midfielders in Soucek, Alvarez, and Ward-Prowse will be the
And
furthest
then who
forward.
right? Or are you saying Bowen out
Um,
there
I think Bowen out there and maybe bringing in
with Bama?
Antonio back into the team if he's fit when
So
he's fit. It's going to
to
be a bit of jiggery pokery around.
to come full circle about saying well, maybe Captain Bowen in 21, I hate that. I hate that I might put the armband on someone and not know where they're going to play. Am I going to rely on the information from the Bristol City FA Cup game to give me the answers that I want? Maybe I shouldn't do that. So to come full circle, yeah, I might be Captain Garnacho in game with 21.
There's also a few other players that are in and around, like Maxwell Cornet can play on the left, right? And he
He's going to
hasn't
have Con
had
as well,
any.
isn't
Oh, he is, isn't he?
he?
Yeah. So
Literally, your two replacements are going to
I
have
don't know.
Con
Is
as
he in the
well.
squad? He hasn't played
Oh,
any football. Have they picked
yeah,
him?
but I bet they've called him up, mate.
You
He is
reckon?
definitely Ivory Coast, isn't he?
He is Ivory Coast. Maxwell Cornet, AFCON. Let's have a look.
In your own time, Suj.
Cornet and Ivory Coast conclude African Cup. Oh,
Can you just get the squad up? Come, babe.
I'll do that. I'll do that. But yeah, look, super happy, right? Halfway through the season, we're beating Spurs, beating Arsenal, beating Man United, beating Chelsea, beating Brighton, drawn with Newcastle. So I think we're as in a good position
How
now.
did Ogbonna
How is
play?
this? Considering he's 35 and we're talking about Thiago Silva being close to the edge, um, Bonner's fine in a low block situation like this. If you've got balls going in behind him, which can happen in certain teams, like Liverpool for the
Yeah, he
Carabao
had a
Cup,
bad night.
problem, but different style of game. Whereas here we're sitting in, he's fine. His body's on the line. He played really well, to be fair. Captain the team. Nice to see after obviously he hasn't come back from his injury, particularly well from a couple of years ago and got back in the team. But yeah, it was nice. He played well, but it was bodies on the line. So I think every player 1 to 11 had a good game.
I asked because obviously coming out of the Amex, I'm like, oh, Arsenal winning 1-0. I didn't know the lineups or anything.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking after, oh, where's Zuma? Oh, Agued's not playing either. And literally, I'm in my head there. I'm thinking, how are they winning
Mm.
with Ogbonna at centre back? Generally,
You know
so
how
I'm pleased to
exactly
hear
the
that.
same, mate. Like sit in deep, nick them on the counter. Oh, I
And that
didn't
is
know
how you will play
Sebastian
against
Haller
Brighton.
is part of the Ivory Coast
Yeah,
squad.
the other thing about Captain Bowen in 21 is you won't have 25% possession in that one.
No,
No, you
that's
won't.
very true, and we won't win that as a result. I don't think he's going. Where is he in this
Is he
squad?
not? So
It,
Maxwell Cornet might be the solution. You wouldn't trust him to stay fit more than 2 weeks anyway, would you?
no, find. I'm going to search on this page of all.
All right. Don't do
Cornet's
that.
not going, mate.
He's not going.
Cornet is not in the Ivory Coast squad.
What's his FPL price? That's proper rogue, isn't it? That's proper
Right, we
rogue.
need to end this podcast if this is where we're going. We end
But
the
no,
Planet
in
FPL when this is
seriousness, if
no,
he's staying,
yeah,
that's good news for
yeah, we need
Bowen, I
him.
think. He's 5.2. No, don't do that.
No, agreed. Cool. That's a wrap of the games, James. And that's the wrap of the year. I mean, we can tell people what they got to look for. What are you doing? Deadline stream tomorrow?
Yeah, and the Wi-Fi will work because I'm in my house.
Nice, lovely, jubbly.
I hope. I've just
And
put
then we're
knockers
back
on
at
it.
it. Obviously, New Year's, there's nothing going on New Year's Day, a day to recover. You obviously play on New Year's Eve, so your New Year's will be dictated heavily by whether or not
I'll go to the
a,
game. I come home. I,
a beach
I
a
won't. I
beach
won't
club
be out on
meets
the
at you.
piss. I hate it. It's the worst night of the year.
Yeah,
Hate
agreed.
it. People just want to get out of their mind and then at 11:45 and start crying because they realise they've had a shit year. And then it gets to 12:15 and they start crying again because they realise probably the next year is going to be shit. And people get depressed. It's meant to be happiness, celebrate, and some
You need to
people
find
do,
some
but
happier friends,
there's
my friend.
always someone that has to just ruin it for everyone. So no, I won't be out New Year's Eve. I'll be going to Tottenham and then taking it easy. Might even treat the wife to a board game or something, maybe. Yeah.
Nice. Listeners, we're going to not go through any questions that we've had on the internet because we've been going for like nearly 2 hours or something mad like that. And I'm sure you got other pods you want to listen to as well. Like our Patreon pod. If you want to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. We'd love to have you for 2024 as part of our Patreon community. There's a Slack channel, there's prize leagues, there's fixture planning spreadsheet, there's additional content and a whole bunch of other stuff as well, including meetups and poker nights and all sorts of stuff we do with our patrons. If you enjoy the
We don't
show,
have a gambling problem, by the way. We did that
no,
once.
no, no. If you want to join, Patreon, head over there. If you don't, then you can still support the show by just hitting the like button, subscribe, share the podcast on any socials, leave us a nice little review on wherever you may be listening. That stuff all helps as well, and we appreciate all of that. But it just leaves me to say thank you for listening this year, for all of your support and helping us grow the pod. And have a fantastic New Year's Eve. Stay safe. See you in 2024. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Remember to play it your way and a happy new year. Cue music, please, man child.